Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner, the channel where we dive into the wild world of entitled people and their unbelievable stories. Hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's go. I was at the local emergency room on Tuesday and saw my first difficult person in the wild. It was nearly midnight and I had been there since around 5 p.m., so to say I was tired and hurting would be an understatement. They were getting ready to release me when a typical difficult person walked in and marched up to the nurse's station where you check in. Everything was quiet at first, so I wasn't really paying much attention until voices got loud. Apparently, the woman wanted to see or visit someone in the emergency room examination area where the hospital beds are. They were not allowed back for some reason, and things got ugly quickly. The woman insisted that her friend or relative was back there, and she was going to see them. The staff informed the woman politely that she could not go back, and had been told previously that she couldn't. The following is the conversation as I heard it. CW equals crazy woman, NS equals nice staff, cop equals police officer. Crazy woman, I will go see them, right now, nice staff. No ma'am, you won't. We've explained to you twice before that there are no visitors allowed at this time. Crazy woman, you will let me back there now. It's my right to see them, nice staff. No ma'am, it isn't. You are not allowed in the examination area. Crazy woman, I need to make sure they are all right. You can't keep me from seeing them, you idiots. How am I supposed to know if they are okay, nice staff? Ma'am, can you please stop yelling? There are sick people here, and you are disturbing them. This is when the police officer walks through a side door that the woman can't see from her angle. He nonchalantly leans in the doorway out of her view. Crazy woman, I don't give a darn about these other losers. I want to see person's name right now. What room are they in, nice staff? Ma'am, I'm not going to tell you again to calm down and lower your voice. You are not allowed to see the patient at this time. I will call security if needed. Crazy woman, call them, I don't care. You can't keep me from seeing them. I know my rights. This is when the police officer starts slowly walking toward the nurse's station. The crazy woman's phone rings, and she walks a few feet behind me to answer her phone. Crazy woman, no, they won't let me see person's name. No, they won't tell me what's wrong. Long pause, no, I won't. Shorter pause. Oh, I'll see about that. She's quiet for a few moments, then marches back to the nurse's station. While she was on her call, the police officer walked up to the station and was leaning on the desk. The crazy woman sees the police officer and pauses, then walks the rest of the way back. Nice staff, ma'am, you need to leave now. We've told you 3 times that you are not allowed to visit the patient at this time, and you have disturbed this waiting area for the last time tonight. You have a good night now, crazy woman. I'll have all your jobs for this, you jerks. She storms out, and a few moments later I overheard the staff talking to the police officer. Nice staff, if she wants my job so bad, she can have it. Then I wouldn't have to put up with people like her, police officer. What was her problem anyway? He chuckles. Nice staff, the patient didn't want her back there. He smiles at the police officer. The patient said she was difficult and didn't want her in their room for any reason. It made a long emergency room visit interesting in a good way for once. So I just flew back from Dubai, and I had the unfortunate luck of sitting next to an entitled mother and her ruly child. I was cursing myself because I have had terrible experiences with children in my aisles on flight, so I was already not in a great mood. The flight started out pretty smooth, but things quickly took a turn. This kid, who must have been around 5 or 6, was running up and down the aisle, throwing toys and making a mess. The flight attendants were doing their best to manage, but the mother was just sitting there, scrolling through her phone like nothing was happening or just telling people to ignore him because he's just a kid. About halfway through the flight, I ordered a Coke. As soon as it arrived, the kid zeroed in on it. He started whining and pointing at my drink, making a scene. Before I knew it, the mother was giving me these dirty looks like I was some kind of demon for not sharing my Coke with her prince. She leaned over and, in a tone that dripped with arrogance, said, "He really wants your drink. Just give it to him." I was stunned. I mean, it's free, so just ask the attendant to get one for yourself? When I declined and suggested she ask the flight attendant for another one, She huffed and rolled her eyes, muttering something under her breath. I'm a petty guy, so I took my sweet time in having the drink while loudly playing music on my headphones. To spite her, I ordered another Coke, but this time her kid tried swiping the drink from the attendant's hand. The attendant scolded the mother in a quiet and stern tone to bring her kid under control, after which the mother huffed and puffed like an out-of-shape marathon runner. For the rest of the flight, she kept glaring at me like I had snitched on her to a principal, while her kid continued causing problems. It's amazing how some parents think the world revolves around them and their poorly behaved children. Why have kids when you can't be arsed to parent them properly? Enjoying the stories yet? If you do, please subscribe, like, and comment. I woke up to yet another morning filled with the obnoxious sound of my neighbor's music blaring through the walls. It was like a constant drumbeat that wouldn't stop. I groaned as I got out of bed, knowing that this was going to be another day filled with frustration and irritation. My name is Samantha, and I'm a 28-year-old woman who just moved into a new apartment building a few months ago. Everything was great at first, but then I realized that I had the most entitled and inconsiderate neighbors on the planet. We will call them the Ks, Karen and Kevin, a middle-aged couple who acted like the world revolved around them. One day, after months of their non-stop loud music, I decided to go and confront them. I knocked on their door, and Karen answered with a smug look on her face. "Can I help you?" she asked, clearly not interested in anything I had to say. Yeah, your music is really loud, and it's making it hard for me to concentrate on my work." "Well, that's not my problem," Karen replied, crossing her arms. "We can do whatever we like on our property." I was taken aback by her attitude, but I tried to reason with her. "But don't you think you should be considerate of your neighbors? We all have to live here together." Karen just rolled her eyes. "I don't care about the other tenants. I'm the owner here." I knew then that I was dealing with the epitome of entitlement. I sighed and turned to leave, knowing that there was nothing I could do to change their behavior. Days turned into weeks, and the loud music continued to be a constant presence in my life. I tried everything, from talking to the building manager to filing noise complaints with the police, but nothing seemed to work. Karen and Kevin just didn't care. One day, I had enough. I had a very important presentation for work that I need to both work on and prepare for tomorrow. I marched over to their apartment and banged on their door. Karen opened it, a look of annoyance on her face. "What now?" she snapped. "I can't take it anymore. Your music is driving me crazy, and I need it to stop. Can't you be considerate of your neighbors for once?" Karen just laughed in my face. "Why should I care about you? You're just a nobody who can't handle a little noise." I felt my blood boil at her words. "You're the worst kind of neighbor. You're entitled and selfish, and you don't care about anyone but yourselves. How dare you talk to me like that?" she shouted, stepping forward and getting in my face. I stood my ground, refusing to back down. "You need to turn down your music, or I'm going to call the police," Karen snorted. "Go ahead and call them. They won't do anything. We have a right to play music in our own home." I could feel my patience wearing thin, and I knew I had to get out of there before things got physical. "Fine," I said, turning to leave. "But just know that you're the reason why no one in this building likes you." Karen slammed the door shut behind me, and I let out a deep sigh of frustration. I couldn't believe that people like them existed in the world. It was like they thought they were above everyone else. A few hours later, I was sitting at my desk trying to work when I heard a loud pounding on my door. I groaned, knowing exactly who it was. Sure enough, when I opened the door, Karen was standing there with a face contorted in anger. She charged at me, grabbing me by the collar of my shirt and screaming insults at me. I struggled to break free from her grasp, but she was surprisingly strong. Suddenly, she raised her hand and slapped me across the face, leaving a red mark on my cheek. "Get out of my face, you stupid B*TCH, she screamed. I couldn't take it anymore. I pushed her away and called the police. When they arrived, Karen tried to play the victim and told them that I had been harassing her for months. But the officers saw right through her lies and arrested her for assault. As Karen was being led away in handcuffs, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. Finally, justice had been served. But at the same time, I felt sorry for her. It was clear that her entitlement had gotten the best of her, and now she was paying the price. From that day on, the building was a much quieter place. The other tenants thanked me for standing up to Karen and Kevin, and I even made some new friends. I learned that sometimes you have to stand up to entitled people, even if it means facing their anger and hostility, and in the end, it's worth it to live in a peaceful and respectful community. I have known this friend for years. We were close and used to spend a lot of time together after my child was born. At the end of last year, she lives in a different state. She told me her roommate boss was going to be closing his office and moving, and she wouldn't be able to go with him. She asked if we planned to move back and tried to say it would be a good time to buy a house, and it would be good if we could move in together. Myself, my husband, our 8-year-old, and her. She also asked if I could get her a job at my workplace. I told her we were never moving back. It was the worst time to buy a house. I couldn't get her a job because she wasn't in the same profession and didn't have the necessary degrees or training, and since we are in our early 40s, the window for having roommates was firmly closed. I didn't hear from her much until a month ago when she called in a panic, saying it was an emergency and she had no one else to turn to. Her ex-roommate boss had kicked her out a few months prior because she thought he may have sexually assaulted her. Now she was staying with a cousin of a friend who was involved in gang activities, and he was watching her every move, recording her with cameras, threatening to call the police and kick her out. She didn't feel safe. Also, she was 6 months pregnant and had been trying to get aid. She couldn't get into a women's shelter, and she had been to a few doctors, but none would confirm she was pregnant, even though she claimed she was visibly 6 months along. I asked more about this, where she'd gone, what they'd told her, but she said it was really weird. She was scared and thought maybe one of them was trying to steal her baby. I thought maybe they were trying to prevent her from getting aid and told her she could stay with us for a bit, as she had some money coming in the next month and just needed a temporary place to stay. I also told her we were cramped and in the process of finding a new place to live, so our money was tight and accommodations were temporary. She arrived early the next morning and was definitely not 6 months along, showing no sign of a baby bump. I thought that since it was her first baby, and she was not clear on who the father was, maybe she was only a month or 2 along. Still, I decided to help her, assuming she was pregnant. We let her use our 8-year-old's room because we had no extra rooms, and space was cramped. During her entire visit, she wore tight clothing, took frequent naps, saying the baby was moving around a lot and making her tired, did yoga in our front yard facing a busy local street, and sat on the patio all day using my work phone because I refused to pay to have her phone turned on. Every question we asked, who the father of the baby was, details about when her money was coming through, what happened with her ex-boss roommate, was met with vague details, and she often said she wanted to change the subject because it was too hard for her to talk about. She did nothing to prepare for the baby. We were very concerned for her and possibly the baby, so we gave her information from a pregnant friend about a good doctor so she could get checked out. She continued to insist she was 6 months pregnant, and I was worried that either something was terribly wrong with the baby or she was less far along and needed to manage her pregnancy better. She booked an appointment for the end of the week, and in the interim, kept trying to make plans with us as if she were on vacation, like suggesting we get dressed up and go to a fancy dinner, asking when we were going to do something fun, and mentioning her upcoming birthday, asking for our help in planning something. The only time she talked about the baby, she mentioned she came to us because she trusted us and wanted us to help her raise her baby, since she couldn't do it alone. She smoked marijuana often, asked for a beer the first few days, talked about needing to dye her hair, and said she didn't need prenatal vitamins because she was healthy. I cooked dinner every night. During the day, my husband made sure our child was well fed with snacks and light meals. She asked several times, "Oh, you only cook dinner? You don't cook lunch or breakfast?" She also asked my husband several times if he could make her some food while he was preparing meals for our child. She never offered to make dinner, lunch or breakfast, and when she asked if I only made one meal a day, I told her yes, but she was welcome to make any meal she liked, and always welcome to any food in the house. She said she couldn't cook well. We started telling her she should get a job or some short-term work since she had no money and no idea when her money was coming through. She said she would start applying but couldn't get a W-2 job. So we told her there were several places near us where she could get independent contractor work. She applied to none of them, had a few interviews via Zoom for places too far for her to drive to, and kept telling the interviewers she was 6 months along, which seemed to sabotage the interviews. I gave her gas money to get to her doctor's appointment. She came back and said she couldn't believe it, but the doctor told her she was not pregnant. She didn't know how that was possible. By the next day, she was fine and acted as if she had never said she was pregnant. She was upbeat and back to asking about our weekend plans. We told her we were setting up our camper and she could sleep there, as we had only let her sleep in our daughter's bed because we thought she was pregnant. She stayed a few more days before coming to me midday and saying she was going back to her state as she had better job opportunities there, and found another person to live with who said she could help around the house to earn her keep until she got a job and could afford to pay rent. I gave her money for gas because we were ridiculously uncomfortable and wanted her out. The kicker is, she said, "Well, since you guys don't want a roommate, it's better if I go." What in the world? I am at a loss for what her plan was. Apart from us taking care of her, giving her a place to live, cooking for her, and paying her bills because she asked again when she got here if I could get her a job at my place of employment. She obviously knew, as I had reiterated multiple times before she got here and while she was here, that we didn't want a roommate and didn't need the headache, and that financially things were tight and we couldn't afford to support her. She said multiple times while here that she was glad we would help her raise her baby, to which I said no, we would not. I feel bad about this, but I was very blunt and told her that while I was glad for her, we had been going through rough times and didn't have the emotional bandwidth to help raise a baby. We would give her the help we chose to and were able to give, but none of this would include helping her raise her baby or her living with us while raising her baby. It blows my mind because, while she is a diva, she had never pulled stunts like this before. She obviously lied about being pregnant, so I would feel bad enough to take her in. But don't wear a skin-tight bodysuit to the grocery store if you're pretending to be pregnant. I am so foolish for bringing her here and ignoring all the red flags in our emergency conversation. To further add to my foolishness, I really trusted this person. My husband had made comments for years about why this person wore super short skirts with no or tiny underpants, and it was so common that he had a towel or lap blanket ready whenever she came over because otherwise he had a front row seat to her private areas. I foolishly attributed this to her being foreign and raised in a place that wasn't founded by Puritans. I never questioned why I never saw her private areas, why this was never an issue when we went out together, or when it was just me and her. I didn't question it until this day when she asked my husband why he let me wear a long dress that enhanced my chest-all features to go out and run errands. It's a summer dress and incredibly hot here. To be clear, my chest was covered, no nips or areolas showing, but I am a busty lady. So how does someone who always told me how pretty I am and that she wants bigger boobs like mine wait until I'm gone to ask my husband how he could allow me to leave looking like that? And when he called her out for wearing her club-wear cutout bodysuit to the grocery store, she said she'd never wear something like that if she were married. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating stories. Share your own experiences and opinions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned for more epic tales.